Snautra aure mazda Hashem vahu vahishtemasti Ushtaasti Ushtahamai yatashai vahishtai Hashem Baname ahura mazda. To think a good thought, to speak a good word, to do a good deed is righteousness. Happiness comes to those who live with the consciousness of righteousness. And with that sentiment, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mehran and welcome to Bahumata, a program designed to build oneness with the consciousness of righteousness in humanity. The goal is not to grow the plant, but to plant the seed for each one of us to blossom with our own love, light, grace, joy, and peace. So sit back, relax, and get ready for this very special journey to enlightenment. And as you do, please join me in giving a warm Zartushti welcome to our very own Zartushti neuroscientist from United Kingdom, Dr. Karishma Koka.
Thank you everybody for coming together in the true spirit of Hamazori so that we can build the consciousness of righteousness around the world as guided by Asho Zarathustra, the prophet. This program is a program designed with the name Bahumata, which means with good thoughts. It is an endeavor to build fellowship via prayer with action and action with prayer. So we look to our speakers to share their stories of leadership with us. And the aims of Bahumata to conserve and share the knowledge, prayers, and principles and practice of the Zarathushti Daina, to honor our priests and our knowledgeable elders, and to build a bridge of communication between the elders and the youth, so that with this, there can be empowerment with knowledge and leadership for the good of all, so that with good thoughts, we can grow this fellowship, world peace, happiness, and prosperity for all. My gratitude is to my grandfather, Ervad Noshirvanji Pestanji Panthaki, and my great-grandfather, Ervad Pestanji Noshirvanji Panthaki, the late Panthaki of the Sir J.J. Agyari Pune, to our guiding light, Mohammad Sahib Mehran Firuzgari in Iran, our guiding friend, the Ravan Shad Mobed Soli P. Dastu, my mentor and facilitator, Mr. Mehra Malsad, for support to Mr. Noshir Dadrawala, and for support and technology, and for hosting us to Mr. Yazdi Tantra, for inspiration to Mr. Rohinton Munshi, and for nurturing me to the ZTFE, including to Mr. Malcolm Debu, Mr. Dalal, and our Mobed Sahibs, Mobed Bhada, Madan, Unwala, Writer, Bhedwar, and Vajifdar, for encouragement to Mr. Potel and the family of the Munshis. And gratitude to all Ashavans, my parents, everyone's parents and families. Our core team supports us, for which we are very grateful. The various
Karishma, your slides are not visible. You'll need to share.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Thank you. And to the various newspapers, Parsi Khabar, Zoroastrians.net, Parsi Times, Parsi Junction, Worldwide Zoroastrians, and the others who share this information and the knowledge of Asho Zarathustra, and our young fellowship ambassadors as well. The previous session we had a month ago, because we meet every Sunday on the first Sunday of the month. And today's session is on living a just life, not just a life. And before we start, may I please invite Mohammad Sahib Ervad Tehemton Mirza to give us a hum bandagi and lead us. Mohabbat Sahib, over to you.
Thank you so much. Well, it is a hambadagi, so I would urge all of you to please recite with me as I recite Dinno Kalmo. Baname Yazad, Bakshayande, Bakshayasgar Merban, Rajistayao, Chistayao, Mazdadatayao, Ashonayao, Dainayao, Vanguyao, Mazdayas Nois, Din Berast, Vadaros, Ke Kodai, Barkalak, Firastau de Inhas, Ke Zartos, Our de Hast, Din Dine Jartos, Dine Auramazda, Dade Jartos, Pitamaun, Ashone, Ashem Vohu, Vaistamasti, Ustasti, Usta Amai, Yadashai, Vaistai, Hashem. Thank you.
Hamazor Hama Shobha, thank you very much, Mohabbat Sahib.
Thank you.
The flow for today will first be an introduction to Ervad Tehemton Mirza, then the talks, and so on through our speakers. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Professor Mehran Pooladi-Darvish to translate the talk by Vanecha Roudbaraki, before whom there'll be Tushna Antia, and before that, Ervad Bakhtiyar, engineer. I'm very grateful to Mr. Mehran Malsad for putting together all our speakers. The Bahumata concept, where Bahumata means with good thoughts, is that we request our speakers to share concepts from the prayers with their significance in the light of Humata, the lines and words from the prayers with their meaning, so we focus on the words Hukta, and the speaker's own interpretations and actions, Varshta. And then there will be questions specifically related to the talks you've heard. After that, we'll open the floor briefly for the Vahumana sharing section, where people are invited around the world to share your own viewpoints on the prayers which you have experienced in your life, your experiences, and your experiences with your Dasturjis, Mohabbat Sahibs, your Dare Mehers, and so on. With that, I'd like to please introduce our first speaker. Ervad Tehemton Mirza. Ervad Tehemton Mirza is a very special person, and we are in for a really special treat from him. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome from Canada, Mohabbat Tehemton Mirza, who truly believes that Zoroastrianism is a way of life, and that Zoroastrians are expected not just to say or to chant their prayers, but also to understand them, to learn from them, and most importantly, to live them. He also fervently believes that the time-tested instructions of a happy and prosperous life are preserved in the Zoroastrian prayers. And he truly encourages all of us to discover this ancient treasure of wisdom in the basic Zoroastrian prayers and to apply them within the context of our own daily lives. Ervad Tehemton Mirza underwent rigorous training at the M.F. Kama Athornan Institute under the ardent guidance of our Vada Dasturji, Dr. Firoz Kotwal, and was ordained Nawar and Martab at the Iran Shah Atash Behram in Udvada. His professional career took him from Mumbai to Iran, to Indonesia, and then he finally settled in London, Ontario, Canada, where he and his wife Zenobia own and operate a CPA practice. He has a CFP certification from the Financial Planners Standard Council, as well as a CPA and a CMA certification from the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. He is also a recreational pilot and a marathoner. As a Mobbed, Ervad Tehemton volunteers religious and spiritual services to Zoroastrians in southwestern Ontario and Michigan. He has published articles on Zoroastrianism in North America and spoken on Zoroastrian topics at Zoroastrian associations throughout North America. Ervad Tehemton currently heads the NAMC, the North American Mabad Council Institute of Zoroastrian Studies, as its dean, and also serves as its vice president. With that token of gratitude and immense appreciation for his amazing selfless service, please put your hands together to welcome and invite our unique, inspiring veteran Zartoshti Mabad from Canada, who ardently promotes the power of the good mind and how to live your prayers. Our very own and respected Mabad Sahib Tehemton Mirza.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. Appreciate that. Living a just life, not just a life. It's just amazing. By shifting a letter A from the first till the second makes a world of difference. So, how would we live a just life? Well, not very long ago, about 375 BCE, Plato, the Greek philosopher, wrote his Republic, and in it, he debated meanings of different things. He debated the meaning of justice and whether a man is happier when he is just or he is an unjust person. They also debated a series of hypothetical cities and rulers and debated the immortality of soul and the role of philosophers and poets in their society. Now, one would ask, well, why would you debate the role of a philosopher and a poet? Well, in those years, the philosophers and poets were the learned people. But very often the rulers were the ruthless barbarians who would conquer a country and then rule them with their fist. They had no idea of how to rule. They have no idea of how to think in a positive way and how to manage a country with some wisdom. And therefore, the importance of philosophers and poets. So, how does this relate to Zoroastrianism? Well, Plato's concept of soul's immortality is the same as the soul's concept in Zoroastrianism. You can even almost think that he has copied it from Zoroastrianism. In Zarathustra, in his Gathas, instructs humanity on how to rule wisely. And Zarathustra and Zoroastrian teachings talk about how to live a just life. As we saw earlier, Plato wrote this in year 375 BCE. Zarathustra said the same things hundreds, if not thousands of years before him. So we have these special issues, the special instructions in our scriptures. So now, what controls our deeds? What allows us to live a just life is the question that we need to explore. If we go back to Plato, he prescribes a three-part model. He says that there is reason, there is spirit, and there is appetite. Reason meaning the ability of a person to reason, to think, rational thinking, to understand the consequences of one's actions. What will happen if I do this, and what will happen if I do not do it? We have a good mind to figure it out. Zarathustra told this thousands of years ago. Vahumana. Then we have the spirit, the emotions, the honor, the courage, self-satisfaction. And then we have the appetite, the biological needs, the hunger, thirst, pleasure, our desires. So we have got these three aspects. And what Plato says is, well, if we balance them, we can live a just life. So Plato answers two fundamental questions in his works. He says, what is a just life? And the answer is, justice is a balance of reason, spirit, and appetite. You have to balance it somehow. And then he goes on to ask the second question, why is the just person happier than the unjust person? And the answer he gives is, in a just human being, reason rules. Spirit is reason's ally, and appetite is held in check. There's a balance. So this balance is the major factor in a person's living a just life. Plato, through Socrates, offers three arguments in favor of a just life. He says the just man is wise and good. Why would you live a just life? Well, a just man is wise and good and thus knows what is good for him. Being just is good for ourselves. He also puts a second argument. Injustice produces internal disharmony, which prevents effective actions. You can't act properly if you are unjust, and if there's disharmony between those three items we talked about. And a just person lives a happier life than an unjust person. You want to be happy? The solution is very easy. Live a just life. Very simple. And that concept, we don't have to go too far in our scriptures. The very first prayer that a child learns, Ashembo, it's right there. There's no need to go any further. It's right there. So let's take that prayer and adopt it. Let's live it. And we have a happy life on our hands. So how to live a just Zoroastrian life? Let's analyze our actions in Plato's model. Reason, spirit, appetite. Reason things through, make sure that your spirit agrees and listens to your reasons, and keep your emotions and other desires in check, and you have a happy life. So according to Avesta, this is an extract from Dasturji Hormaziyar Mirza's writings. According to Avesta, an ideal Zoroastrian man or a woman is one who observes truth, who is healthy in mind and body. It's not just enough to be healthy in one. You have to be healthy in both, mind and body. Who advances in good thoughts, words, and deeds. Who is sincere and devout-hearted. Who recites holy words for prayers. You have to say your prayers to be just. Be sacrificing, leading a good life of wisdom. And one who prospers the world by his action. Not just yourself. You have to work for the world, for everybody else as well. He goes on to say that while thrift and economy are virtues, stinginess and miserliness are vices. Words of wisdom. Charitable disposition is especially extolled, and charity is an essential virtue of a Zoroastrians. This, my friends, Zoroastrians have proven over and over again. Charity is our virtue, and Zoroastrians have lived it. So, to live a just Zoroastrian life, we have duties to three aspects. The first duty is to ourselves. We have a duty to ourselves. Our physique is a sacred weapon for our soul in this life. Keep it clean, pure, and healthy to maintain health and endurance and vitality for a long life. You have to look after yourself, look after your health. That is very important. Second, the duty to others, towards our family, our friends, our community, our country. It's very important that you look after others as well who come in contact with you. Just not your own self, it's the others that count equally. And the third, and perhaps the most important one, is our duty to Aura Mazda and the elements of nature. If you don't look after nature, our life is worthless. So nature is interdependent and helps support each other. Zoroastrianism is a nature-based religion. Most of our prayers are directed towards nature. When you say your prayers, well, read the meaning of it, and you will find that they are dedicated to nature. Amish husbands preside over each element of nature, and therefore polluting or disrespecting an element of nature is disrespecting and insulting an Amish husband. Therefore, life cannot be just unless it is lived in harmony with nature. Very important. So to live a just life, we have got three components. Look after yourself. Make sure you are healthy. Make sure your mind is occupied. Make sure you are doing something for yourself so you are fit and able to carry out your duties. Duty to others. Look after your friends, family, your citizens, your country, and you will be happy. And then the most important part, look after our Mazda. Look after nature, things that our Mazda has granted to us. For by not looking after that, there's nothing left for us in this world. So to live a just Zoroastrian life, you have to live by its moral code. Righteousness, for the sake of goodness. Righteousness being good, not for rewards, not for appreciation, not for fear that we might be punished, but just because that's the right thing to do. And again, as I said, we don't have to go too far in scriptures. Just look at Ashembo and the message is right there staring at us, and let's accept it, adopt it, live it. The right to choose. We have choice to make. Zarathustra and his Gathas tell us that you have a choice to make. So choose the right path and take responsibility of your actions. That's the most important part, is the responsibility. There is no forgiveness. Just accepting and confessing your sins doesn't absolve you of it. You have to pay for it. Judgment of our action is inevitable. To live a just life, you have to think of the judgment. There's a battle against evil, and we are the soldiers in that battle. We are the recruited soldiers that fight on the side of our Mazda, on the side of truth, on the side of good against the forces of evil. We have to be in excellent shape physically, mentally, and every other way to fight that battle. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is vital that we have excellent health, pristine mind, and a dedication to fight that battle on behalf of our Mazda against the evil forces. And then maintaining the purity of elements of nature. Look after the nature. Look after all the elements of nature, water, plants, air, and so on. For without that, the life would not exist. And again, industry. Be industrious, do business, do things to produce, to make humans and humanity better. Be generous with your time, with your knowledge, with everything that you have. Give, for giving is the best way of achieving happiness. And charity. Charity is very important. So this is just to name a few. So, ladies and gentlemen, all great dynasties come to an end. All great empires have perished. All great kings, queens, and the warriors, name any of them, and they have gone to dust. Someday, ladies and gentlemen, we don't like to hear this, but you and I will meet the same fate. So all that matters at the end of the day is whether we did what we could with the life that was given to us. It doesn't matter what you did. You have to make sure that you do the best you can for whatever is given to you. So then let's examine this. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates, well, he chose death over exile. He was executed for corrupting the minds of youth in Greece in those days. He chose death to exile. And when he was granted, he was committed to death. This is what he said: unexamined life is not worth living. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to adapt this quote to our present day life. Let's examine our life. Are we living a just life? Are we living a life that Zarathustra and Zoroastrianism has taught us how to live? Are we living a life that we have the potential for? We can do better than what we are doing now. So let's focus on that. Let's move on with it. Let's live a life that's better than what we are now. So it is not how long we live, it is how well we live is really the important part. So we have to judge our life by not living to be 200, but life, how well we live, how much difference we made in people's life, how much did we contribute to humanity, how much did we contribute to nature, what did we do in our life is what matters. So ladies and gentlemen, remember, we have only one life to live, only one life. We have got one shot at the can, that's it. When we are gone, we are gone. So live a just and happy life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mobit Saib, Ervad, Tehemton, Mirza. Almost everything you said, Mami Jaru repeated to me and nailed it in so that I don't forget. And said this is such an extract, a distillate of the Zarathushtri Dana. We are most grateful to you, Ervad Saib.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you, Baba Meher, for inviting Mobit Saib, Tehemton, Mirza today. Our next speaker is a young Ervad Sahib. Ervad Bakhtiyar, engineer. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce a dedicated, immensely dedicated and committed young Mobit from New Zealand, who is blessed with a multifaceted set of talents, including an aspiration to become an aerospace, aeronautical, and astronautical space engineer. Oh. That's many engineers. Bakhtiyar engineer was born and raised in Mumbai, then migrated to New Zealand with his family at the tender age of 2. Currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering with honors at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. During his school and college years, he competed in sports such as synchronized ice skating, swimming, and tennis. Wow. He also invested 3 years to become a certified rescue scuba diver, which gave him the opportunity and ability to explore the world's oceans while traveling with his family. He was fortunate to win multiple competitions in synchro ice skating, which he pursued for over 5 years, and eventually competed to win in the New Zealand Ice Skating Figure Skating Championships before shifting his focus to other interests like tennis, scuba diving, and academic education. Currently, he also does volunteer work, and his most recent set of work includes the America's Cup International event held in Auckland and the Blind Dog Foundation, which he says were fantastic experiences. It is most important for us to note that Ervad Sahib Bakhtiyar says to us, it is with immense pride that a milestone in his life was at the age of 18, when he was ordained as a Navar under the guidance of the highly respected mentor, Dasturji Aspandiyarji Dadachandji of the Vacha Gandhi Agyari in Mumbai. A time and place, he says, he will never forget, and he carries fondly in his heart with the precious memories of his first initiation into priesthood. Following this event, a few days later, he says he participated in assisting and conducting a Navjot ceremony which was that of his younger brother, whose picture you can see. His brother is Kaizad engineer. And Ervad Sahib says, this was a proud moment for myself and my family. And his brother also is now a Nawab since 2017. Bravo to you, Ervad Bakhtiyar, for completing this memorable milestone. Ervad's Bakhtiyar and Kaizad are both striving to actively help with the religious ceremonies in the Zoroastrian community in New Zealand, with the support of senior Mabud Sahibs Ervad Viraf Fatakia and other fellow Mabuds, the Farand Salhori Dare Meher and Benaifa Irani in Auckland. After becoming a Nawab, what Ervad Sahib says, he has taken on a mission for further refining his knowledge on ceremonies and prayers, for which we salute him. He feels fortunate enough to be able to provide his priestly services to the New Zealand and Zoroastrian communities there by performing the prayers in a wide range of ceremonies such as Jathans, Saroshna Patrus, Uthamnus, Paidas, Navjots, with the guidance and support of the other respected Zoroastrian priests in Auckland. He is also aspiring to become a Martab along with his brother Kaizad in the upcoming years. Ervad Bakhtiyar is a very prominent youth member of the Auckland Zoroastrian community and frequently volunteers for their events such as ZANZ, Z-A-N-Z, the Zoroastrian Association of New Zealand, and other community-related projects with Benaifa Irani. He also loves to make contacts and build friendships. Felt very fortunate to participate in Prada, America's Cup World Series, for which he was in charge of volunteer and logistics management. He ends with saying, his journey to better himself continues, and we wish him a fabulous journey to enlightenment. Please give a warm welcome to our very own Zoroastrian Youth Mabud from New Zealand, Ervad Bakhtiyar, engineer.
Good morning to all, and thank you very much for the warm welcome, and more importantly, offering me this opportunity. Live a just life, not just a life. But what is a just life? Well, there really isn't a definition for what a just life is, but we can derive the definition based on the word just. Just means something that is fair or something that is morally and ethically correct. In Zoroastrianism, the purpose of life is to become an Ashavan, master of Asha, and bring happiness to the world, which contributes to the cosmic battle, the cosmic battle against evil. The word Asha is interpreted variously as trust, order, justice, or righteousness. The question arises most often is, why be just? Or why be just? I came across a book a while ago called The Republic by Plato. It is the cornerstone of Western philosophy, and it's based back to the 4th century BC. The book presents a dialogue between Socrates and 3 different people when they inquire on the notion of a perfect community and the ideal individual within it. Socrates, the well-known philosopher, offers 3 arguments in favor of why a just life over an unjust life. The first, a just man is wise and good. The unjust man is ignorant and bad. Pretty simple. Second, injustice produces internal disharmony, which prevents effective actions. Lastly, virtue is excellence of a thought and a function. So the just person lives a happier life than an unjust person, since he performs various functions of a human soul better. I think this is relevant to all of us in the 21st century. Many of us find ourselves not thinking of the purpose or importance of our actions and the trends we follow, and also what effectiveness it has on the people around us, but rather the status that comes from doing it. So what can we do to live a just life as a Piracy and Zoroastrian in the 21st century? As we all know, the cornerstone to our religion, the Zoroastrian mantra of good thoughts, good words, good deeds, or Humata, Hukta, Hurashta. Simplistic as they may sound, they have a much deeper meaning and can help us live a just life. A mention in brief of what I have learned from my senior Ervads. Humata is the first thought of Ahura Mazda, the thought for a universe which is devoid of evil. All thought leading to this goal can be regarded as humata, good thoughts. The word hukta is used to describe the Avesta Pazan prayers. Hence, all utterance of prayers can be referred to as good words. Havarshta. Havarshta is to understand as all actions leading towards bringing the creation that is us to its original pristine purity. But goodness does not require typical monk-like asceticism. However, we must commit and engage to our religion and live the righteous and just life our religion teaches us to do, which includes embracing earthly delights, however fleeting. The easiest way to engage with our religion is through the most meaningful prayers, the Shembahu and Yathawedu. We know these are very powerful prayers, but seldom do we know what they mean. So let me give you a quick example and a brief translation of one of them. These can be found in any expanded version of the Kordevasta. Ashembahu translates to this: righteousness is the best good, and it is happiness. Happiness to him who is righteous, and righteousness for the sake of the best righteousness. The significance of the term righteousness is to be understood as truth, holiness, and pristine purity. In our Holy Avesta, righteousness is the highest praise. For the words "Stau mi Hashem," which means "I praise righteousness," are introduced. It is mentioned in the Hadok Nas that one recital of the Ashembahu is, with proper comprehension and pronunciation, could be truly regarded to worth 10,000 recitals on any other occurrence. When a human wakes up and rises from sleep, recites the Ashembahu by relinquishing all negative thought from his mind, the significance to this is that in the early mornings while getting up from your sleep, one should acquire true righteousness and hold fast to it in its daily accords. What this summarizes to is basically quality over quantity. Although we may be rushing to school, work, etc., all it takes is 30 seconds of comprehension to start your day with a healthy mind by praying the Ashembahu before your feet touch the ground. The common excuses everyone has is prayers are too complicated, prayers are too long, I don't have hours in the day to sit and pray. But I hope you realize that this is just not the case. So to all my fellow youth and fellow Zoroastrians, the way to live a just life is very simple. When you choose to strive the path of righteousness and start making simple steps in the right direction, this is possible. Thank you.
What an accomplished young Ervad Sahib. Thank you, Ervad Bakhtiyar engineer. And thank you, Baba Meher, for finding such a star for us. Our next speaker is also a star and shines her light right now in Australia. Tushna Antia. I'm really excited to introduce this promising Zarathustra youth from Australia who drives into opportunities where her experience and skills can contribute towards making a positive impact on the environment. We just heard from our previous senior Ervad Sahib about the importance of this in the Zarathustri way of life. As a Zarathustri, Tushna Antia wants to contribute towards making the world wonderful, the idea of Rashokerati, so that it can be restored to a state in accordance with the will of Ahura Mazda. She firmly believes that as a Zarathustri, our role in life, in this world, is to serve and honor the 7 bounteous creations, as conscious beings with the ultimate task of caring for the welfare of our universe. Tushna Antia, who belongs to a priestly family, for which we give gratitude, is a young Zoroastrian lady who was born in Mumbai and grew up in Melbourne and is presently residing in Sydney. She has been part of the Zoroastrian Association of Victoria, ZAV, throughout her adolescent years, serving as the chair of the youth committee for several years and recently being a member of the events committee for the last 2 years. Being always surrounded by Zartushtis, she has developed a deep sense of the community spirit in Melbourne. Tushna currently works within the renewable energy space at Bloomberg after graduating with a Bachelor of Commerce and International Studies. She's passionate about the environment and tries to live in a sustainable way. Having attended the past 2 World Zoroastrian Youth Congresses in New Zealand and in Los Angeles, Tushna Antia has broadened her knowledge about the Zoroastrian religion and has made it her lifelong ambition to continue this while she makes lifelong friends along the globe. Having grown up in a Dastur household, she is passionate about her community and carrying the torch of our Zoroastrian traditions into the future. Our hats off to you, Tushna, and much gratitude for this commitment and dedication. With that passionate enthusiasm of this young lady, let us match it and give her a warm Zartushti welcome. Our very own Tushna Antia from Australia.
Thank you so much for the very generous introduction, and Meher uncle and the team for giving me this opportunity to speak. So when Meher uncle sent me this topic, it really got me thinking what just means. I think everyone aspires to live a just life, and this looks very different for different individuals, depending on sort of where they are, where they've been brought up, and what they really value in life. For me, this is living a life full of honesty and really giving back to the community and those less fortunate. I was always taught from a young age, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, as I'm sure many of us were. And from a young age, this really helped me develop a moral compass, which is still a work in progress. And I always value self-reflection, and when I do make mistakes, when I do things wrong, it's a lot about sort of accepting your mistakes and taking responsibility for them rather than sort of dismissing that. And largely that was me growing up, my parents making me realize that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn and you accept those. I have done quite a bit of work for the Zoroastrian Association of Victoria, which really embedded a sense of community within my life. So as mentioned, I was on the youth committee for several years, and I really thought, it was going into it, it was good fun and it was about planning events, but it really taught me that there is importance in building a sense of community and giving back and helping other people around you and learning from others. Growing up, I would always see my parents helping so many people. There would be lots of new families moving to Melbourne, and as a young child, I would always see sort of my parents in opening our houses to them and inviting them to stay over. And growing up, I always looked up to that, and I always valued that, and I really want to continue this going forward and helping other people in ways that I can. I think charity is a really important element of living a just life. I think charity can be perceived in different ways. There's, of course, the sort of monetary side of things, which is very important, but there's even an element of time, which I think a lot more of us can give. I think this is such an important sort of pillar in living a just life and helping out others. And I think one of the easiest ways we can do this, and I hope to practice every day, is through kindness. I think it's such a key element in living a just life. I think with kindness, I think it's very important to be kind, especially when you don't have to be. And when it's very hard to be, I think that's when you sort of develop the most, and that's when you can try and live the most just life. I think it's such a sort of easy thing that people forget, but I try and make a very conscious effort to really embed that and practice that on a daily basis. And I think a lot of this really comes from sort of prayers and looking internally. I try to sort of pray as much as I can. I try to meditate when I can. And this really makes me self-aware to realize sort of where I'm lacking, what I need to do, what I need to work on. And I really encourage people to take a second in their day and reflect internally to sort of see where the gaps are, where they can improve, and how they can really help others. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by so many amazing, inspiring people who have really helped me understand what living a just life is. And like I mentioned, it looks different for everyone, but for me, it's really giving back to the community and sharing that sense of happiness and honesty. So I really encourage everyone to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tushna. We appreciate all that you've said. Now, what I'd like to do is give us a brief introduction to a person who's helping us understand our next speaker's share. Professor Mehran Pooladi-Darvish has taken time out to help translate the speech of our next speaker, who is Vanecha Roudbaraki. So first, I'll tell you a little bit about Professor, oh, I'm so sorry. He says, please just call me Mehran from Tehran. But actually, he is a professor. Dr. Professor Mehran Pooladi-Darvish holds a Bachelor of Science from the Amir Kabir University of Technology in Iran, a Master of Science from the University of Petroleum Industry in Iran, and a PhD from the University of Alberta in Canada. He has been honored with the Professor of the Year and Teaching Excellence Awards at the University of Calgary in Canada. Mehran has also been the recipient of numerous distinguished awards in the petroleum industry. Dr. Pooladi-Darvish was born and raised in Iran, where he played basketball for the Fravahar Youth Organization and was also active in the Zoroastrian Youth Qanun in Tehran. In his 20s, he emigrated to Canada, where he currently resides with his wife, Beruk, and children, Arshia and Vista. Mehran is a petroleum engineer by profession and has been active in both academia and industry, and remains active within the Zoroastrian and Iranian communities. Most recently, he was president of the Zoroastrian Association of Alberta and currently is the vice president of the Iranian Cultural Society of Calgary in Canada. Thank you very much, Mehran. We appreciate your time. Because Mehran is going to translate what Vanecha Roudbaraki is going to share with us from Asho Zarathustra's message and the inspiration of her own work. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinctive pleasure to introduce this very special Iranian Zartushti artist from Paris, whose exceptional artwork has also been prefaced by Gerard Zirera and Jean-Luc Cholimer, as well as by other well-known art critics around the world. Vanecha Roudbaraki arguably is one of the most renowned Iranian artists of our times, with multiple international prizes and trophies from Italy, the United Kingdom, China, France, Germany, and Canada, along with the United States. Having a scientific background, a master's degree in mathematics from 1990 in the University of Gilan, she is aware that art is not an exact science, but an important means of communication and one that necessitates the establishment of peace in society. This sentiment serves the soul of the inspirational work to promote peace in humanity. She believes this. She has had more than 130 art galleries of her artworks across the world, and her work has been praised by critics across the globe. Her work is focused on the influence of the good religion in private life and its impact on modern living in the 21st century. Vanecha Roudbaraki was born in Rast in Iran. Given her environment and her life in the wild, she was seeking, while pursuing her primary and secondary studies, she sought that something that would answer the great question she kept asking herself throughout her childhood: the relationship among man and nature, and his existence in this very relationship with nature. Fortunately, she did end finding the synthesis of her intimate questions in the art of painting. Now, Vanecha in words means the transplantation of a young plantation. These words at the same time, simple and beautiful, are used by the rice growers of the north of Iran in a way to speak of the rice transplanting, and constitutes another source of inspiration for Vanecha as a concern of her subjective philosophy in her relationship to nature, as well as her tangible and tactile objectivity in her permanent encounter with men of her environment. That is to say, all those who, by transplanting the bead in the matrix of nature with endless energy, gives meaning to the continuation of life. Baba Meher, those are profound words you've written. Thank you. Contemporary Franco-Italian artist Vanecha Roudbaraki is known for her evocative works, which explore the relationship and existence between man and nature. Brilliantly colored with vivid palette, in a range of hues and tones, Vanecha Roudbaraki's paintings are passionate examples of expression and tangible objectivity. Drawing inspiration from the world around her, her works of natural abstraction explode with light and color and express to viewers her zeal for the aesthetic. Vanecha's artwork has been exhibited at venues all over the world. These include exhibitions, 130 of them in the world, and 70 private exhibitions. She has been awarded with numerous trophies and awards, which include, in 2015, the International Prize Donna in Art as guest of honor at the city of Messina in Italy. The 2014 Special Wushu Development Prize in Lanzhou in China. The 2014 Peace Prize as guest of honor at the International Biennale of Taormina in Italy. And in 2011, the big prize of Emotional Ciel de Paris, Droit Montagne, France. Ladies and gentlemen, the entire spectrum of her inspirational artwork is displayed on a website, which I will put in the chat box. And with that sentiment, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Vanecha Roudbaraki, and much gratitude to Baba Meher for writing all our biographies today and every time. And Mehran, thank you very much for being with us to translate. I hand the floor over to both of you. Vanecha, you will need to unmute, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. خشنوترا اهوره مزدا درود میفرستم به همه بینندگان گرامی که دارن ما رو میبینن و همچنین سپاسگزاری میکنم از کراشما، دکتر کراشما کوکای گرامی و همچنین بابا مهر عزیز که این برنامه رو درست کردن و من رو دعوت کردن به نشست امشب.
خشنوترا اهوره مزدا. Thank you very much for the very kind introduction, and also to all who are watching this program, especially to Dr. Koka, Kashmir Aziz, and thank you to Baba Meher and other organizers for the program and for the invitation.
و اما به درستی زندگی بکنیم و نه فقط زندگی بکنیم، اینجا ما باید که تمرکز بکنیم در روی واژه درستی و اون رو معنی بکنیم که اولا درستی چی هست و سپس دو تا پرسش بزرگ هست که پیش میاد. این دو تا پرسش رو باید بهش به نتیجه برسیم، به پاسخ برسیم. یکی این که چطور میشه درست زندگی کرد و دیگه اینکه به چه عناصری برای درست زندگی کردن نیازمند هستیم.
Living a just life and not just a life. I would like to start with the word just and what it means to me. Then I want to consider two questions. How one can conduct a just life, and what are the individual components that allows us to arrive at a just life.
در واژه درست پیش از هر چیز واژه عنصر عشا وجود داره. بنابراین یا همون راستی، عشا یا همون راستی. پس برای درست زندگی کردن ما میبایستی که به دنبال راستی باشیم و برای راستکردار بودن نیازمند هستیم که خرد بورزیم و خردمند باشیم. هر دوی این دو عنصر از اساس کار آیین زرتشت هستند و اگر که اساس آیین زرتشت رو درست بدونیم و بهش برسیم الزاماً درست زندگی میکنیم.
Foremost in a just life, there is Asha, same as righteousness or Rasti in Persian. For conducting a just life, one must pursue righteousness. And for recognizing the righteous path, one needs wisdom and a good mind. Both of these concepts, righteousness and a good mind, are the basis of teachings of Zarathustra. And once one knows these fundamentals well and pursues them and arrives at them, one will necessarily conduct a just life.
حالا اینجا یک پرسش به وجود میاد و اونم این هستش که چه کسی میتونه راستی و درستی رو تشخیص بده؟ پاسخش خیلی راحت هست. خود انسان هست که با وجدان بیدار خودش قادر به تشخیص راستی و نیکی از بدی هست. کلیه این مطالب از موضوعاتی هستند که زرتشت در زمان خودش به اونها رسیدگی کرده.
Here a question comes up, and that is, who is it the one that could recognize a righteousness and choose its path? The answer is simple, and it is humans themselves, who with their open conscience could differentiate between the good and the bad. It is us who are the decision makers. And all of these are what Zarathustra arrived at his time and presented them to us.
در آیین زرتشت انسان از یک جایگاه فوق‌العاده بالایی برخوردار هست، چرا که میتونه صفات اهورامزدا رو که امشاسپندان هستن داشته باشه. میتونه امشاسپندان رو در خودش بپرورونه و یا اینکه میتونه از اونها دوری بکنه و به انگر مینو یا سرشت بد خودش بپردازه. پس انسان هستش که توانایی انتخاب داره. این خود انسان هستش که انتخاب میکنه و سرنوشت خودش رو رقم میزنه.
In Zarathustra's teachings, humans have a privileged position. Why? Because humans have access to Amshasapandana, the characteristics of Ahura Mazda. We know them and could nurture them. Alternatively, humans could deviate from the Amshasapandana and allow growth of Angramen, or the bad way of being. Therefore, the mankind can choose, and in this way, form his or her own destiny.
از طرفی انسان در خودش هم دارای سپنتا مینو هست یا همون سرشت نیک و هم دارای انگر مینو یا همون سرشت بد. اگر که سرشت نیک در انسان غالب بشه، اگر سپنتا مینوی خودش غالب بشه، به اهورامزدا نزدیک میشه. ولی اگر که بخواد ازش دوری بکنه و انگر مینو بخواد غالب بشه در انسان، از اهورامزدا فاصله میگیره. پس انسان به طور دائم در حال کنترل نبرد مابین نیروهای نیک و نیروهای بد در درون خودش هست. این در واقع رویی دو نیرو و دو وجه سپنتایی و انگری در درون انسان یکی از بزرگترین درگیری‌های تاریخ بشریت بوده و هست.
Humans have Sepantamenu, or the good spirit, and as well Angramenu, the bad spirit or the bad way of being within themselves. If the good spirit, the good way of being, is nurtured, one gets closer to Ahura Mazda. On the contrary, if the bad spirit is allowed to grow, then one deviates and moves farther from Ahura Mazda. Therefore, humans are continuously in charge of the struggle between the forces of good and bad within. And this struggle between the two sides of the good and bad within humans has been and continues to be one of the oldest struggles of the history of humans.
و از طرفی زرتشت پیام‌آور نور و روشنایی هست. روشنایی، نور و روشنایی دل و روشنایی راه. زرتشت از طریق گاتاها و آموزه های خودش، از طریق تعلیماتی که از راه گاتاها به انسانها میده، در واقع این توانایی رو به انسانها میده تا با خرد و دانش نوعی روشنایی رو در درون خودشون به وجود بیارن، اون رو جستجو کنن و به وجود بیارن و به توسط این روشنایی هست که میتونن کنترل نیروهای در واقع نبرد ما بین نیکی و بدی رو به دست خود بگیرن. از دیدگاه من در واقع این شاهکار بزرگی زرتشت هست، نوری که در درون انسانها تابیده میشه.
However, Zarathustra is the messenger of life, the messenger of the bright heart and the bright path. Through his teachings, the Gathas, Zarathustra enables the humans to use their wisdom and the good mind to clearly see the dual nature of the forces within and to come to peace with it, while knowing that it is in his or her control to choose one over the other. This is the masterpiece of Zarathustra's messages. The light that is within humans spreads.
در آیین زرتشت امر و نهی وجود نداره. انسان آزاداندیش هست و حق انتخاب داره و مهمتر این که خود انسان هست که راهگشای خودش میشه و منتظر هیچ نوع معجزه و راهکاری از جای دیگه نیست. پاسخ پرسش‌های خودش رو خودش در درون خودش جستجو میکنه و پیدا میکنه.
At the same time, in his messages, there is no thou shall and thou shall not. Instead, humans are free to think and are allowed to choose. More importantly, it is us who find the way forward. One is not waiting for some other person or miracle to come to one's help. The answer to one's questions are to be found within oneself.
یاد میگیره که تمرکز داشته باشه، متمرکز باشه، به خودش احترام بگذاره، به خودش نزدیک بشه و با خودش دوست باشه و در نهایت نبرد یا نبردهای درون خودش رو به نوعی کنترل بکنه و به صلح برسه و انسان برتری بشه. بر اساس آیین زرتشت انسان میدونه که این نبرد ما بین نیکی و بدی همواره وجود داره، چرا که تنها اهورامزدا هست که خرد کامل هست و کلیه صفات امشاسپندان رو دارا هست، ولی انسان الزاماً دارای انگرمینو هم هست، هرچند که انگرمینو کم باشه در وجودش ولی میدونه که این درش وجود داره. بنابراین یاد میگیره که انگرمینوی درون خودش رو کنترل بکنه و روی اون تسلط داشته باشه.
We learn to focus, to contemplate, to respect and befriend ourselves, and ultimately to take control of the struggle within and arrive at peace. Based on Ashu Zarathustra's teachings, humans know that this struggle is always there. This is because it's only Ahura Mazda whose features are Amshaspandan alone. However, humans necessarily include Angramenu, even if it is turned to be small. Hence, we learn to control the Angramenu and work towards dominating it.
زرتشت با آموزش‌های خودش یاد میده که چطور میشه به این شفافیت و نور درون دست یافت و سپس با اتکا بر این شفافیت و نور انسان میتونه راه زندگیش رو خودش پیدا بکنه.
With his teachings, Zarathustra shows us how to achieve this clarity and transparency within. And through that light and transparency, conduct a just life.
و در نهایت با عشا و راستی، با خرد و دانایی، با نیایش و تفکر و نوری که انسان از طریق آموزه های زرتشت در سر راه خودش میبینه، میتونه با خودش به یک آرامش نسبی برسه و به تکامل نزدیک بشه و زندگی درستی داشته باشه، نه فقط اینکه زندگی بکنه.
In summary, with Asha and righteousness, with wisdom and a good mind, with the right prayers and contemplations, and the light that one sees through the teachings of Zarathustra, one can arrive at peace with oneself and have a just life, not just a life.
And thank you very much to everybody, and a special thank to Mehran John for your great translation. Thank you.
That didn't need a translation.
Thank you very much, Vanecha, and thank you very much, Mehran, for your time and sharing your wisdom. Please do feel free now to put your hands up so that we can take your questions, and you can ask your own questions to our speakers. These need to be questions specifically addressed, related to our topic of the day. And then we will open the floor for you to share your experiences with your teachers, your Mabit Sahibs, and your Agyaris and Dare Mehers. There are no questions at all today. In that case, shall we request Ervad Sahib, Tehemton, Mirza to do a hambandagi for us? Nobody wants to say anything? Any shares? Any Vahuman shares? Okay, in that case, Ervad Sahib, Tehemton, please go ahead.
Certainly, thank you so much. But before I do that, just a quick few sentences of something that we perhaps should pay attention to. As we discussed, life is too short. We have only a few years compared to the life of this earth to live on this place. So it is important for us to make sure that we do the best we can, to make sure that we attempt to do whatever we can to be good, to be just, and to be such that we make a difference on this earth for very little time that we have. So with that thought in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's make a resolution. Let's resolve that let's all examine our life. Let's make sure that we look at our life the way we live it, because sometimes we get so engrossed in the way we live our life and it just continues and nothing changes. If we examine our life and let's look at things that we can improve, things we can change, things we can do better than what we are doing today, so that it makes a difference to us, to our fellow human beings, and more importantly, to all the creations of our Mazda, the nature. It's very important for us to do that, particularly now with the climate change and things like that, right on our doorstep, threatening us with our very survival. It is for us to make that change. It is for us to take that leadership. It is for us to do something to make a change so that we can leave this world better than what we found. So thank you very much. And now let's do Tuyatavario and Vanashambho as a concluding prayer. Please pray with me. And as we pray, please ask our Mazda and our good mind to help us guide in our quest to live a better life. Yatha huvedio ataratu shashachidhacham Vangeush desdao manengo shotananam Vangeush mazdai Kshatrim chai aurai aim dare gupyo dadat vastarem Yatha huvedio ataratu sashachidhacham Vangeush dasda maningo shotananam Vangeush mazdai Shatrim chai aurai aim dare gubyo dadat vastarem Hashem vohu vaistem asti ushta asti ushta amai yadashai vaisnai Hashem. Thank you very much, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to connect, and may Aura Mazda bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ervad Tehemton Mirza. Thank you, Baba Meher. Thank you, Yazdi Tatra. And thank you to our esteemed audience who's with us today. As a lady in the chat box says, Pujokshi contractor, uplifting talks. Thanks to all our speakers. And I echo that sentiment. The 1st of January is celebrated by Bahumata as the collective consciousness day. We'll be marking that on the 2nd of January when we have our next Bahumata session. Thank you, Asho Zarathustra, for the guidance that we all continue to live with. Yes, Tushna, Antia, thank you so much. Thank you, Baba Mehran. Yes, please close the session when you're ready.